All praises to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shem. Let's get right into this lesson.
People think black people are Japanese people think black people are viltrumites. On some real shit, I've been seeing this all over my For You page. It is probably one of the craziest things I've seen. So this Japanese guy who lives in Japan made a tweet saying how he's been seeing a lot of, black people as his neighbors and how he, is just terrified of them. Their bone structure, their DNA is completely different. They're a whole different species than us. I'm a skinny, small Japanese man. If I was to get pinned down, I'd be over. What I'm confused about is the whole bone structure thing. He's out here claiming that black people have completely different bone structures and have skin tough as diamond, apparently, okay? Like, these guys are just war machines. They're actual viltrumites. Like, they it just sounds so crazy. I don't know where this is coming from. Like, I know that there's not a lot of, black people in Africa or even, immigrants or darker skin tone people in Africa. So, when they first see someone of a darker skin tone, they act a little bit surprised. But to come out and say completely different bone structure is insane. That is an insane statement. I'm not going to lie, though. This is a crazy oralob, in my opinion, okay? Having one man say your whole species is a different bone structure and you're at a high, crazy level, I think that's an oralob, in my opinion. Like, there are people coming out making viltrumite edits of black people, and it's just hilarious. But what do y'all think? Japanese people think...
And let's get this video out as well, too.
Several Japanese users on X made anti-black comments talking about black folks made them feel anxious and uncomfortable. And let me just read to you the intimidating and scary things that black people do to them that make them so afraid of us. The black folks who come to my shop are always grinning, cheerful types. They hang out at the nearby family restaurant, but they're scary. The intimidating presence of black people is on another level. From a Japanese perspective, just being near them is nothing but terrifying. So just black people just existing, minding their own business, not even saying a word to you is terrifying. This person said, my neighborhood too. I encounter them every day on my way home from work. In fact, they've even built a house right next to mine and live there. LOL. Well, there is no commotion or disruptive behavior or anything, but still, it does feel uncomfortable and anxiety too. No crime, no issues, no problems, just existing. So don't tell me it's about behavior, because even when there is no behavior, the bias is still there. So you scared of black people, but you're addicted to black culture, copying the style, the energy, the hair, but the people who created it, they're scary.
Now, I'm going to get a scripture, but let's get a few scriptures, actually. Right? Says in Matthew chapter 5, verse 13, Ye are the salt of the earth, but if the salt have lost its savor, wherewith shall be salted, it is thenceforth good for nothing, but to be cast out and to be trodden down under the foot of men. Right? So when these Japanese people are talking about black people, are like these viltrumites, right? Or the fact that these black people have different bone structure, right? Or the fact that black people simply exist in ground that makes them uncomfortable. Well, the thing is, they're not too far off with how they're describing us, right? Of course, black people aren't viltrumites, but black people, so-called black people, are from the tribe of Judah, right? And we are actually better than viltrumites, because viltrumites is fiction, but we're really the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans. We are actually Israelites, right? So naturally, right, if you watch the show Invincible, the viltrumites are basically superior to a human in every single way possible. Strength, speed, intellect, everything, right? And that's how the Israelites are, right? The Israelites, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans are superior to or more superior compared to every nation, right? We are the smartest, we have the best flavor, we have the best strength, the best everything, right? Even though it may not be recognized, right? It doesn't stop the fact that the Bible, right? The word of Yahweh confirms this as well. So let's go to Deuteronomy chapter 7, verse 6. For thou art an holy people unto the Lord thy God. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be special. The Lord thy God hath chosen thee to be a special people unto himself, above all people that are upon the face of the earth, right? So Yahweh says himself that as Israelites, we are above all the nations on the face of the earth, right? So what does this mean? That means we are superior, right? And so therefore, not only are we superior, but we also have salt. We also have flavor. So that's why you have the Ammonites or the Moabites, the Japanese and Chinese copying our flavor. The Edomites copying our flavor, wanting to be like us, but yet wanting nothing to do with us, right? Because it is said that in this side of this world, of Esau's world, we will be the tail and not the head. But eventually, we will be the head and not the tail, right? So this is why, the nations don't want to be around us, because we have these curses upon us. But however, these nations do have that natural fear of us, because eventually one day we will be ruling over these nations and be their masters, and they will be our slaves, our servants. Right? So let's get out the scripture right here. It says in 2nd Ezra chapter 6, verse 56. Right? Let's get this out. Ye have said that the other nations born of Adam are nothing, that they are like spit. Ye have compared their abundance to a drop from a pitcher. Right? So these nations that aren't Israel, like Moab, Edom, Ishmael, you name it, Elam, they're like spittle. There may be a whole bunch of them, right? I mean, I believe there is almost 1.5 billion Indians. But to the Lord, they are like spit. They are like nothing, right? They're like a drop from a pitcher, right? So really, Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai is only dealing with the one nation, and that's Israel. And when I say Israel, I'm talking about biblical Israel, the blacks, Hispanics, and Native Americans, not the false Chosenites living in the Western Asia, right there in that stolen land of Israel. Now let's get Psalm chapter 2, verse 8. It says, ask of me, and I shall give thee the heathen for thine inheritance, and the uttermost parts of the earth of thy possession. Right? So eventually it's going to come to a time where, once Esau has his run, these nations, go to war, and they exhaust their weaponry, and Yahweh Shai comes back and deals with them, will be made joint heirs with Yahweh Shai, Lord willing, we are the elect. And part of being a joint heir is that we will be able to have the heathen for our inheritance. Right? We will have true wealth. Right? And we'll have righteous rulership. Right? So, remember, name of the Father is Yahweh, and the name of the Son is Yahweh Shai. Right? And, Jake, not every single white person is an Edomite. Sometimes they could be an Israelite. Same thing with the Chinese, Japanese, and you name it. And the way you find out is how this truth reveals to you. Basically, how this truth levels with you in the spirit. Right? If you believe this truth and it makes sense to you, you could possibly be an Israelite. But of course, we won't know for certain until Yahweh Shai comes back. So work out your salvation with fear and trembling, and all praises to Yahweh Bahashem Yahweh Shai, and Shalom.